What is up, Marybeth? It was so good to hear you dive into 1 John chapter 2, 1 through 6. You did an incredible job about Christ is our advocate. What an incredible passage explaining to us the fact that Jesus is our advocate, that we can truly be able to connect with God because Jesus can bridge that gap we so desperately need bridged. So today, I am going to be in 1 John chapter 2, and I'm going to dive into 7 through 11, and I'm super excited to talk about it. Marybeth did an incredible job. You guys should check out our previous episodes because we talk all about 1 John, and we're going through 1 John. It's an incredible opportunity to be able to dive into the Word of God and actually ask the question of how do we actually live as a child of God? What does it mean to live as a child of God? All right, so let's dive in. 1 John chapter 2, 7 through 11 says this. It's titled The New Commandment. It says this: Beloved, I am writing you no new commandment, but an old commandment that you had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word that you have heard. At the same time, it is a new commandment that I am writing to you, which is true in him and in you, because the darkness is passing away and the true light is already shining. Whoever says he is in the light and hates his brother is still in darkness. Whoever loves his brother abides in the light, and in him there is no cause for stumbling. But whoever hates his brother is in the darkness and walks in the darkness and does not know where he is going, because the darkness has blinded his eyes. I think this is such an interesting passage because John, he's already told them the commandment. He's told them everything that they need to know, yet they still need to be reminded of what the old commandment was. And the fact that they're supposed to love their brother, they're supposed to walk in the light, and an evidence of walking in the light shows by how they treat their brother. And that's so fascinating. As Christians, we seem to imagine that we can just do whatever we want, and then we just get a little grace sprinkled in. We get a little bit of forgiveness sprinkled in. But the Christian walk is actually incredibly different than what we think. It's actually choosing to walk in a manner that is different. It's choosing to live a lifestyle that is different because you are a Christian, right? It's so often that we think, oh my gosh, I just need a little bit of Jesus in my life and I don't need to fully change. But the Christian walk, we are called to fully change our life, and Jesus truly to fully change our life. And that is just fascinating to think about. And I think, he says in verse 9, he says, whoever says he is in the light and hates his brother is still in the darkness. So this is a call to the fact that we need to live a lifestyle that honors God. And in order to honor God, we need to honor our brother. How interesting. I actually love how John explains the fact that, you've heard the old commandment. You know what's going on. You know exactly what the commandment was. But I'm going to go ahead and remind you. See, sometimes we need to be reminded about how much we need God. Luke Smallbone once said that in the West, we don't need God all that much. And what I mean by that is we desperately do. We just act as if we don't. What a fascinating quote, right? He just said that, and it kind of hit me in the heart of where am I acting like I don't need Christ as my advocate? Where am I acting where I'm I don't need to remember that old commandment. I don't need to remember all of the other things that I've learned. But no, the Christian walk, choosing to live a life that honors God, choosing to live a life that is on mission for Jesus, is living a life that is walking in the light. It's choosing to say, that is darkness over there. I need to walk in the light. And so some ways that we can do that, I think, is maybe choosing to think, all right, how can I love my brother better? Because loving my brother automatically allows for me to be able to love God. How interesting is that, right? Marybeth and I, we've been talking about 1 John. We've been talking about we've been talking about this fascinating book. We've talked about the word of life. We talked about walking in the light. We've talked about Christ as our advocate. And now we're talking about the new commandment, and all of these things tie together. See, in order to be able to understand this book, we have to understand that it talks about the word of life. And then we have to understand what in the world it means to walk in the light, right? It's choosing to follow God's commandments. And then we got to understand that Christ is our advocate. Christ goes before us, and he allows for us to be able to live a life that honors him, right? And then the new commandment, understanding that in order to be able to live a life for Christ, we have to remember the old commandment that we've been given, but with a little bit of twist. Isn't that fascinating? So Marybeth, I can't wait to hear you respond to all of this. It's been a joy to be able to hear you dive into 1 John chapter 1 through 6. We talked about 7 through 11. And so again, we invite you onto this journey to be able to dive into this book so that we can learn what it really means to walk in the light, to walk as a child of God, understanding that Christ is our advocate, so we don't need to be worried. but also understanding that if we truly are Christians, we need to walk in a manner that honors God.